those are my affiliations. It's going to be a 5-6 minute talk only, so I have summarized everything into just some pictures. This is a very classic MRI scan showing a prolapse. This is C5, C6. If you look at the axial cuts, it's on the left side. So 2 cuts at C5, C6. This is how I see it. You can do removal of this structure. It may be a soft disc, it may be a hard disc, it may be a ligamentum flavum, or some osteophytes from the uncus. You can do a decompression of that region either through a posterior approach, endoscopically, tubular, or open. That's fine, because at the end of the day, you're doing a decompression. That's a viable option. Or you can do from the front. And from the front, of course, there are some surgeons that does a PECD. I don't, where you go through the disc and you take out from using an endoscopic approach. You can do a complete disc removal. That's an ACDF usually. I tend to choose a disc replacement surgery. And the reason how I would choose anterior posterior depends on this picture and my philosophy. One is the nerves come out anteriorly. The nerve skirts out anteriorly. So I always feel, from my results as well, the anterior decompression of the foramen is often, especially for anterior disease, is often the best compared to a posterior approach. Posterior approach to me is almost like an indirect decompression if the problem is anterior. And if the nerve moves in this direction, more harping the front, the tenting of the nerve is actually more on the anterior aspect. As such, I feel that decompression should be done anteriorly, almost like saying laminoplasty should be done in K-line positive patients. So anterior is the way to go for me. And we all know that for this replacement surgery, in skeletally mature patients, 1-2 levels, subaxial spine, radiculopathy, with concordant images, this is the gold standard, meaning that this is the most well-studied implant and procedure in the whole of spine surgery. And if we don't do it, then we are really not doing what is evidence-based practice, in my opinion. Advantages of this replacement, I think that you can definitely get adequate decompression. Whether you put an implant or not, that's another question. One is you can get decompression, that's the uncus. You can take out the uncus easily. One side, both sides, you can still put a prosthesis. Or you can even do a central decompression. More and more people are moving towards dealing with myelopathy as well, using this replacement surgery. Certainly, to me, it has also added advantages, like it can restore alignment, simply because it's an anterior procedure without the posterior being touched. So you are actually lengthening the anterior portion with a fixed posterior portion. So that creates lordosis naturally. It can restore mobility, and because it can restore mobility, if mobility is allowing good lordosis and kyphosis and flexion extension, you are restoring balance, which is what we are trying to achieve. Of course, when we have stress dissipation, because the spine moves normally, you protect not only the level, you also protect the adjacent level. So this is the advantage. And lastly, we always talk about whether other pain sources can be removed. In a disc evacuation, you can treat discogenic pain. Sometimes we do not know where the pain is from, if it's radicular symptoms plus neck pain. So we don't really know where it's from, so you can deal with that. If it's facet pain, it actually distracts the facet joints. You can see in this picture, it distracts the facet joints, giving a column distraction. So that is treated as well. Patients tend to have neck pain after the surgery. After 3 months, all the neck pain disappears. And finally, this is true soft tissue preservation. We do not cut a single muscle fiber during our anterior approaches. Even endoscopic surgery, I find that it cuts some muscles. So my go-to is this replacement surgery for most of my cases of cervical spondylotic radiculopathy in these days. I do 95% of it with ADR because of those advantages that I spoken of earlier on, and 5% is endoscopic. And I want to talk a little bit about the indications of this replacement. I think for people who haven't done this replacement surgery, please consider doing that for these prime indications, radiculopathy. You can stretch the indications to level 2, level 3, level 4, something that I've described, but that comes with a need for better technique, training, and possibly more complications. And I feel that the way to go is to move from what we call acceptable harm, that is surgery, which is what all of us do, including myself, where we do destruction to the corridor, open surgery, and we cause destruction to the spine, biomechanically fusion, to not destroying them, that's endoscopic surgery and disc replacement surgery, to truly benefiting the patient. Not only that, not destroy the corridor, preserving mobility, but generating mobility, because you're doing expanded indications, actually it moves. So take-home message, Every surgery has its role to play in the armamentarium for treatment of spinal disease, and in these classic indications, this replacement surgery is the ideal, in my opinion, and it's the most studied evidence-based practice. And even with expanded indications, a good technique makes it very feasible and promising, and it's where we go towards a true beneficent surgery. We have courses to talk about endoscopic. We teach endoscopic and arthroplasty surgery, even in expanded indications. And I want to thank these people who have made it possible. Thanks.